What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Fitness Stuff for Normal People podcast. I'm Tony. This is Mariana over here, and it's no secret the fitness industry sucks. We're going to learn a little bit more about that in today's episode. Whether it's the corrupt multi-billion-dollar supplement and weight loss industry or the endless supply of influencers promoting anything to drive page views, the bottom line is we're not trying to provide just another fitness podcast, but completely change the fitness industry for the better. No small task. But we want to do that by providing you with the knowledge and tools to cut all the crap out and give you the confidence and understanding that you need to move forward. Today, we are talking specifically, this is the most upvoted topic on our stories where we poll which questions you guys want us to answer. We're talking about the 5 best and worst supplements. More specifically, which supplements have sound scientific backing and are proven to help build muscle, help lose fat faster, increase workout performance and post-workout recovery, and improve your general health and well-being. We're going to talk about which supplements lack any peer-reviewed scientific literature and are essentially duds, and which specific companies you can trust, along with the ones that you should avoid at all costs. Now, before we get into it, quick shout out to everyone who's written us a 5-star review. We're almost at 1,000 on Spotify and a few less on Apple because most of our listeners are on Spotify. But over on Apple, we just found some crazy cool reviews because you guys can leave actual written reviews instead of Spotify where you can just give a little like star rating. So thank you to everybody who's done that. One from Hookah36, we actually pulled this out. This touched our little hearts. Mariana and I don't know your real name, Hookah36, but I love you. She said, I'm new to a personal fitness journey and I've been trying to expand my knowledge as much as possible and stumbled upon this podcast via Instagram. Tony and Mariana are great at sharing easily digestible information and knowledge in an honest and upfront manner. They're keenly aware of the scare tactics and the quote unquote, you must do this to get this result pattern that so many other fitness instructors tout on their platform. So far, I'm down 75 pounds, and this has been a big help to keep ideas in my mind of the most efficient and effective way to stay safe and healthy. Hookah, you in my hearts. You in my heart. So shout out to everyone doing that. We might start pulling these reviews because they are so sweet. They are so sweet.
But before we get into it, just a quick note from a few of our sponsors. Our first one being Eat This Much. You guys have heard us talk about this many times. We love Eat This Much. They have a free version and they also have a premium version. On the free version, it is a meal planning app, but you're also able to set your own calorie and macro goals and access thousands of meal prep friendly recipes. It's so convenient. I've found it particularly convenient around the holidays with making side dishes, having a little bit more control over the food you maybe want to bring to an event or hosting. And on the premium version, you can plan a week of meals at a time, generate automatic grocery lists through Instacart and Amazon Fresh, create automatic leftovers, customize every single day of the week. You can even print and email your plans, and it's really convenient and definitely worth the try. You can get a free 2 weeks of the Eat This Much Premium at eatthismuch.com/fitness stuff. And then you can also get 20% off after that at the link that is in the show notes. And we definitely recommend it, even just trying it out to see if it works for you. And if you really like the research aspect that we bring into each episode, we took the time to build out a premium membership in the Fitness Stuff Research Review. We're very excited about this, where we dive even deeper into the latest research addressing individual nuances, showing you how to apply each aspect into your own specific lifestyle. Looking through the latest research surrounding nutrition and training for fat loss, gut health, digestion, sleep and recovery, supplementation, and so much more. By supporting us here, you're not only getting access to the weekly research review, monthly Ask Me Anything episodes, and bonus content, but you're helping us rewrite the fitness industry narrative, which, if you guys have been listening for a while, that is our ultimate goal. And you can sign up for our premium research review in the show notes below or at fitnessstuff.supercast.com.
And super exciting announcement from members. Keep an eye out for your emails in the coming probably 7 to 10 days. We got some announcements of some exciting partnerships we got coming up for premium subscribers if you're over in there. One more word from a pretty well-fitting sponsor today. Our other one, outside of Eat This Much, is Legion Athletics. You guys know them. We talk about them. We've used them for years before we even partnered with them. The supplement industry is, I'm going to say broken doesn't do it justice. Shattered. Caca, poo-poo. It sucks. Legion is trying to change that as well. Their ethics and ours align so well. And honestly, we're going to see exactly how broken the industry is today. I know the supplement industry is one of the most twisted, soulless industries out there. But when I was writing this outline, diving deeper behind it, and you really see some of the marketing tactics used in the supplement industry, it's even worse than I thought. In writing this, did you get a better understanding too? Just like, wow, it's eye-opening.
I had this moment like back in school, like a few years ago, when I was learning all about the background behind the history of the beginning of the supplement industry, how it's become so much worse since when it started. There's a lot that is not brought to the forefront for consumers and
until today. Until today. But that's again why Legion and us get along so well. Their ethics align so well. Every article, podcast, and video they produce, they honestly are probably one of the best educational companies I know as well, is vetted by a team of MDs, PhDs, and other professionals. They fund scientific research into nutrition, exercise, and supplementation to help advance our collective understanding of how to live healthier, fitter lives. And they're coming out with new supplements all the time. The most recent one is actually a probiotic, which we're going to touch on today and actually do a full episode on. Not that probiotic, but just probiotics in general in the future. They just launched it. I think it's called Biome. I just ordered mine. I'm excited to try it out and let y'all know how it affects me if it does. And we're just big fans of their protein, their creatine, their pre-workout, their strawberry kiwi. That's what we're taking on the daily. So let's talk about the supplement industry, shall we?
First, where can they go to get a little discount on Legion?
If you want to get a little discount on Legion, you can get 20% off your first order by using code FSPOD, FSPOD at checkout, or in the show notes below, we will attach that link down under. So let's talk about the supplement industry today, shall we?
Let's get into it.
I'm excited. And honestly, this is the longest, I think, today. This is our 44th, 45th episode.
Oh, I don't know.
Out of all these, this is the longest I've spent on an outline, digging up research, finding supporting studies, and just doing some digging that I think I've spent they're probably twice as much on any other episode, which I thought this was going to be a quick one. When it was the most upvoted one on Instagram, I thought this would be a quick one.
It's one of those topics where the more you dig, the more you find. So
yeah,
it's not right in your face when you try and find what we're going to address, but you just keep uncovering so much as you go.
I had to cut myself short on like rabbit holes that I was going down. I'm like, holy, I could spend a day on one of those. You just have to cut it short. Ugh, I got the ick. I feel gross afterwards, almost. But why we're talking about it, right? Not only because this was the most upvoted, requested episode when we polled. I think this is a good place to start. The vitamin and supplement manufacturer market size in 2021 was $71 billion. Projected in 2028 to hit $128 billion. This is a hundreds of $billion industry that we're talking about. And we know supplements, we use supplements and we have for a very long time, but we know that they're not at the core of any particular goal or program. They're not going to make or break where you go. There's something that you can supplement on top of your programming. Exactly, just the supplement, but it's marketed, and we'll talk about exactly the regulations surrounding it and why it's marketed in a certain way to cure so many problems that different lifestyle changes usually can. Now, just for reference, I thought this was interesting. The nutritionist and dietitian industry, global market size, was only 600 plus million, meaning less than 1% of the supplement industry was the dietitians industry. And then the gym, health, and fitness club industry was projected to hit $91 billion this year. So right on par, meaning people are spending more money on supplements than they are gym, dietitians, specialists to go improve their health that way, just to give everyone a little reference.
It's such a catch-22 to me, because you think about how a lot of these like very people who promote like the natural way, healing yourself naturally with supplements, and they're the cure-all, and to not trust doctors and to not trust medicine and research, where you are feeding into one of the most untrustworthy industries in the US.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
And people will hear this and they'll accept it and they'll say, okay, but then they'll go fall for the next marketing scheme down here. And I think that the thing that we want to shine light on before we jump into the top 5 best and worst, because we actually have some great pointers here to give what's something that I think would be worth for most people taking in, what people should avoid at all costs. But I think what people need to understand even before they go into it is how truly like just unregulated the supplement industry is. and that these companies can claim almost anything they want that a supplement will cure or fix or change without any scientific backing to prove it. And I don't think a lot of people realize that because so many bottles are sold with so many ridiculous claims. And I don't think people realize that they can just put that there without having any rhyme or reason to do so. And an important little study, this was done at the University of Hawaii at Manoa in Honolulu. They actually looked at different dietary supplemental companies, and they found that 9 in 10 health food stores suggest dietary supplements for treating a variety of illnesses from hypertension to cancer without any clinical evidence supporting those claims. So 9 out of 10 health food stores. And they estimate that at least 1 in 12 US adults, and this has been years since this study has been taken, so potentially more with how much it's growing, estimate that at least 1 in 12 US adults has taken a botanical dietary supplement, so those herbal supplements that are known to cause kidney damage, right? Including bucca leaves, juniper berries, common diuretic supplements, or even other supplements like St. John's wort, ginkgo biloba. I don't even know if that's pronounced right, right? Ginseng, ginger, blue cohosh that interfere with certain prescription medications.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that people need to realize is I think the average American's on 1 to 2 prescribed medications. And even though most people, and what we are saying probably 10 times today, is to consult your physician before starting any supplement, even as basic as a whey protein or a creatine, hint, hint, those might be on the top 5 list. It's still important to consult your physician because people don't understand that certain supplements pretty drastically interfere with prescription medications sometimes in the absorption and how they react in your body, which can even have negative health impacts. Not only are some supplements crap, but they could cause more damage than others realize. I don't think people realize that.
Mm-hmm. I know. And I feel like also a little disclaimer beforehand, like if you are known to be deficient in a vitamin or mineral that comes up on your blood test and you are prescribed a supplement, that is incredible. That is, I think that that's something that we don't talk about enough. That is what they are mainly intended to do, vitamin and mineral supplements, to help prevent these deficiencies if you know you're at risk, or help with a deficiency you may have if you can't get these from your diet or you have a condition, what have you. So I just want to put that out there, because if you're someone that's like, wait, I know I'm deficient in vitamin B12, vitamin D, and I'm taking it, should I not? Absolutely. That's not what we're saying. That's the best way to approach supplements if you do know you have a deficiency.
Exactly. We're going to cover a specific supplement in the top 5, but that's the power, especially of getting blood work done every once in a while, or at least a good initial protocol. And that's what we're trying to work on to get you guys more affordable blood testing. But it's so important because those highlight where certain individuals need. And that's why we didn't do a top 10 list of the top 10 supplements, is because there's not a lot of supplements that span to where most people can benefit from them. For example, I just got blood tested and found my vitamin D level was extremely, extremely low. It was 25, where ideally it'd be between 70 and 100 in that test. That gave me a pretty good pointer of where I need to start supplementing to increase something I'm deficient in, if it's not something I would need to supplement in. Now, another big thing, and I think this is a big one people don't even realize, is these herbal supplements that I think have been marketed harder and harder over the past few years. I don't know if you've noticed this either, but the more herbal supplements that promote relaxation and calming and focus, and a lot of claims that I think people don't quite realize. Another big one is people with ADHD. I've seen this pop up on my TikTok. I guess I'm on the ADHD side of TikTok lately. But for ads that are herbal supplements that treat ADHD outside of prescribed medication. And I want to give a quick highlight too. When I was digging into further research, there are some common supplements that you should avoid taking if you take a common ADHD medication, such as Adderall. This is one that, again, your physician would warn you of, and that's why those intake forms are so important when it's like, hey, what supplements are you taking? They're important to note, right? Things like tryptophan, something you hear about on Thanksgiving dinners, 5-HTP, St. John's wort. These can all increase the level of chemicals like serotonin in the body, increasing your risk of serotonin syndrome if taken along with that prescribed medication. Other things like taking vitamin C can actually decrease its absorption rate when they're taken together. So even the most common vitamins and minerals, you don't want to just start taking randomly because you saw an ad for it promoting it somewhere, right? That's just a common, I think, one that I wanted to touch on, but that goes with every prescription medication. There are things that interfere with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's the scary part. Here's the scary part. You actually brought this to my attention when we were talking about melatonin the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before we get into the top 5 worst, this is a big one as well. The supplement industry and how unregulated it truly is. Now, there's a concept of misdosing, right? Meaning where what's actually in the product or pill that you are given is not what is on the label. If vitamin C, for example, the label says you're getting 100 milligrams of vitamin C, misdosing means if you test the pill that they actually give you, there might not be 100 milligrams in that pill. There's nothing really regulating that these have to match unless they get third party tested, which is so important. Now, University of Mississippi tested 30 supplements found on Amazon.com to see if what was in the supplement actually matched the label. Of the 30 supplements tested, 17 of them had inaccurate labeling. 13 of them found no trace of the ingredients listed on the label. 13 out of 30 of them found zero trace of the certain ingredients that were listed on the label, and 9 had additional ingredients that were found nowhere on the label, whether it be fillers or things that just were not accounted for. Right? That is the vast majority of supplements that they tested. That alone, before we even dive into the crazier pieces, should be a big red flag.
Yes, a huge one. And here we are on today's internet, social media. You hop on TikTok and you will get so many people pointing out ingredients lists of food and telling you not to eat them for whatever reason, fear mongering. And you'll have the same people with either their own supplement company pushing supplements like a sea moss gel or a chlorophyll and praising them. And it is just the hypocrisy of that whole concept to me is laughable. However, no one cares to listen to that. It blows my mind.
Wait, are you saying CMOS isn't going to make the top 5 best list? To be continued. Now, and I think this is important to realize because especially I think with was it Airborne? What's the vitamin C supplement that came out from that teacher that just like mega dosed vitamin C? Airborne. It was Airborne. Okay. And I don't think a lot of people realize more is not always better. And for a lot of vitamins and minerals, there's a U-shaped relationship when you are dosing them, meaning too little of a certain vitamin and mineral is not going to have an effect. You reach a range for that person. And then the U-shape, meaning it curves back down, meaning too much is also ineffective, but also potentially dangerous. Things like iron, calcium, different vitamins that you're taking. Too much is not a good thing and can lead to toxicity. And I think it's important too to look at dosing and why people should work with their physicians more closely. Is I talk to this about my girlfriend all the time. I am twice her size, right? I'm a 220 pound, 6'2" dude. She is a tiny little female, right? We should usually not be dosing the same exact. We should not have the same exact doses. Doses as we go along. Dosages are important. Now, the most common misdosed supplements, from what they actually say on the label, are a little bit shocking. The first one we pulled up, and you actually, I think, mentioned this on our last podcast, melatonin, common sleep aid. Researchers from the University of New Mexico found that the actual melatonin in the pills ranged anywhere from only having 17% of what was on the label, upwards of 478% of what was written on the label. Meaning if the label says 2 milligrams, I can't do that math real quick. What's 478% of 2 milligrams, right? It's that far off of what is on the label. We're not talking about, oh, it said 2 and it gave me 3. We're talking hundreds of percent off in melatonin. Did you get those numbers too? That was the last podcast you were talking about, right?
Yeah. These are just the researchers who decided to go out and look at this. There are so many supplements that are not looked into because there's no sufficient clause to look into them, but that's the risk. This is the exact example of why we say to proceed with caution with supplements, because there is no regulation behind what you put in them. That also goes for how much. No one is looking to make sure that what they say lines up with what's in the actual capsule.
Exactly. It's a little bit scary because, again, that's where someone chose to shine a light on. What about the places that are still hiding in the dark? This is unsaid. Vitamin D, a very common supplement, one that we actually might recommend a little bit later, it was found that vitamin D dosages, when you tested these supplements found in health stores, range anywhere from having only 9% of the prescribed dose on the label, upwards of 140% of what was on the label. And another common one, turmeric, people use for anti-inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
Turmeric ranging anywhere from having only 3% in the pill from what was on the label, upwards of 150. And that's just of those tested. Now, another common thing that we're going to talk about and what the companies that we're going to recommend do, and is very important to look for, and people are like, well, how the heck do I know which supplements are good and bad? Certain companies, and it's expensive to do it, that's why a lot of companies do not do it, pay to get their supplements third-party tested, meaning they pay a third party to come in, and they don't do it themselves because you can easily fudge those results. They pay a third-party company to come in and privately test those supplements to say, hey, what we say is on the label is what's actually in this product. And not a lot of companies do that, and they usually wear it proud on their label because it's expensive and they want people to know that they paid to have this done. Because the companies that don't, as you can see, there's nothing holding them to standards of putting what they actually say in the product.
Yeah. We constantly encourage our audience to always ask why, always ask questions, be skeptical. And even with a supplement company that says they're third party tested, go look at that third party lab that is actually testing them. And it should be clearly available, all the information, especially if it is a reputable lab that it's going to, because there have been plenty of class action lawsuits against certain third party testers that are actually profiting off of this supplement company, and they're working together and they fudge a lot of the ingredients and approval. This happens a lot with CBD companies, and it will be clear as day. You can just even look up the name of the lab, and there's a bunch of lists and resources to go see if there's been any class action lawsuits.
Yeah. So do a little digging. Is it annoying that we have to do this? Yes. But the problem exists, and that's how you can get around it, or at least do your best. Now, I think it's time. Let's start off. I think we start off with the worst, which we actually couldn't just narrow it down to 5. We had to squeeze in 6. I hope that's okay with everybody. We have the top 6 worst
more
supplements. I know I think we had a list of 10 that we had to narrow down, but we could not cut out less than 6. Now, we based the best and worst, both based off of their quality, effectiveness of ingredients, value, and the research behind them. Meaning, does research actually support the supplement, the claims that they make, or is there little to no or even research against the specific supplement? So that's how we chose the effectiveness of our top 5 best and worst supplements. We're going to start with worst, one that Mariana is particularly passionate about. We're going to count down. What's number 6? The 6 worst supplement we could recommend.
Yes. So we coupled this one together. We were going to do them separately, but there's a lot of crossover. So it's greens powders / multivitamins, because the majority of greens powders are marketed as a multivitamin, getting all the vitamins and minerals you need, but also then we'll go the extra level. There's a bunch with probiotics, some that say they have digestive enzymes in them, but that's essentially, it's like a different form of a multivitamin, mega dosing all of the vitamins and minerals you need in this form of a greens powder. Again, they're not the same thing. However, there is a lot of crossover when talking about them. This is my personal opinion, would argue that multivitamins are worse almost than greens powder, just because sometimes greens powders can have some probiotics in them, which can be sufficient. How you absorb them may be a little bit better than in a capsule. But again, those are little nuances. The first thing to remember is a greens powder or a multivitamin, they are supplements. Even though you put the greens into your drink and it may seem like a different form, it is still a supplement. It is not a micronutrient rich food item. This is not a replacement for fruits and vegetables, a multivitamin or greens powders. And that's, people will think like, oh, I'm having this, then I don't need to eat my fruits and vegetables, or this is better if I can't get my fruits and veggies in.
That's the number one thing you hear.
Yeah. So it is essentially as well A lot of these greens powders have mega doses of these vitamins and minerals. They also have proprietary blends, which can be a mix of different things that you actually don't know. They don't have to inform you of what is in that blend.
Yeah, that's
And
actually,
that
I think,
is,
an important thing to touch on, because that's actually common in a lot of the top supplements is that word proprietary blend. That I don't, if people, I
yes.
know we've talked about on here, but if this is your first episode, explain real quick, what is a proprietary blend if you see that on your label of a supplement?
It can be any mixture of ingredients, essentially, like that bring you these vitamins and minerals. So say there's like powdered mushroom in there, or there's vitamin C powder or something. It can be just a blend of those ingredients
Yeah.
at smaller levels. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's a blend of ingredients. So instead of dosing where, let's say, and this is not a real supplement, but let's say there's like vitamin B6, B12, vitamin C in a proprietary blend. Instead of them being listed as individual ingredients, where it says we have 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, 1,000 milligrams of this, 1,000 milligrams of this, they put it in a proprietary blend. And these are usually done with the more expensive ingredients, to where they have to list how many milligrams or the dosage of the total proprietary blend, but not of the individual ingredients in there. So typically,
Yeah.
proprietary blends are there to cover up putting in like a very expensive ingredient, but very underdosed. But
Yeah.
putting in a proprietary blend to be like, oh, see, we put this very expensive ingredient in ours, it's going to have this effect, when really they'll sprinkle a little bit in that has zero effect just to say
Yeah.
it's in there. So that's what a proprietary blend is. It doesn't list the exact dose of each ingredient, which is a
Yeah.
little red flaggy.
Yeah. And this is like one of my biggest issues with any sort of multivitamin supplement is Americans as a whole do not eat enough fruits and vegetables. And these supplements are not marketed to the people that could actually benefit from them. So if you think of an Athletic Greens, again, that's Athletic Greens is probably one of the more reputable companies out there in terms of the lengths they go for research, testing. They're very transparent about that. But they still have proprietary blends. They are very,
Yep.
very expensive. So the people who may have these deficiencies, who don't have access to fruits and vegetables, these communities of lower socioeconomic status, they are not taking Athletic Greens. They're not taking a greens powder. They're not getting the multivitamins. It is typically more healthful people that go the extra level to buy these expensive supplements, which
Yeah.
is so counterintuitive. You will see
Yeah.
people with, especially a lot of influencers, like having their greens powder in the morning, having a huge sweet green salad, and it's like you don't
You're not the
excess
person who
what.
needs this.
And so that is one of the situations where it's just like half of the people that may need this aren't getting it, probably more than half. But then also the level of, you're just taking this with, are you deficient in all of these things that you're supplementing with? Do you even know if you need them?
Mm-hmm.
And most likely you don't need every single one. You have a bunch of water soluble vitamins in this greens powder that you're just excreting. You're just peeing it down the toilet. Now, again, I'm not saying this can't be beneficial to those who do have nutrient deficiencies, struggle to get fruits and veggies in their diet. That goes for both greens powders and multivitamins. However, most of the time it's not going to those people, and it's not being marketed to those people, and it's not financially accessible.
Yeah, and that's the first big problem with it, is it's who
Yeah.
it's made for and marketed to. I don't know how much Athletic Greens is. I don't want to misquote it because I know I would.
Yeah.
I looked into it. It is outrageously expensive. And again, it's like the people who have these deficiencies, the people who live in like food deserts, who are lower income, who can't afford to eat a ton of fruits and vegetables in a very diverse diet. These aren't the people who can afford these supplements. And that's why it's making our list of top 5 worst, top 6 worst. But top
Yeah.
5 worst that's a big problem that they have. And even though people take them, most of the research I know that you went into, most of the research shows that it doesn't really have an effect on people who take them versus not take them.
Yes. Yeah. So this is what I wanted to dive into a little bit deeper. And this is a study. It's called Self-Reported Health Without Clinically Measurable Benefits Among Adult Users of Multivitamin and Multimineral Supplements. So the objective of this study was to compare self-reported and clinically measurable health outcomes amongst multivitamin users and non-users. So it was a cross-sectional analysis, and they wanted to look at the effect of multivitamins on clinically measurable health outcomes. 21,603 participants, and the results are not shocking to me. They may be shocking to a lot of people. Among the 4,933 adult multivitamin users and 16,670 non-users, multivitamin users self-reported 30% better overall health than non-users. What does that mean? People who were taking multivitamins thought that they were healthier. So on all these measures of health and in this survey and the questions they asked, they personally thought that their health was better than the non-user. However, there was no difference at all between multivitamin users and non-users in history of 10 chronic diseases, number of present health conditions, the severity of current psychological distress, and rates of needing help with any daily activities. So why is this significant? Multivitamin users self-reported better overall health despite no apparent difference in health outcomes. And that's exactly what marketers are doing. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make you think that this is making you healthier. They get into your head, oh, I'm taking this, so I must be healthier because it says I am.
And I feel like people might be hearing this soon, like, well, it's the placebo, right? So it still is healthier. What she's pointing out is no, there's no measurable effect, meaning even though the people thought they were healthier, they had the same health outcomes as those who did not use. That's important to point out, is it's not a placebo effect in the sense of it's actually doing work. It's not. It just makes you think you are.
Yeah. And this is what researchers pointed out that I also find pretty interesting, is that widespread use of multivitamins in adults may be a result of individuals' positive expectation of that multivitamin, leading to better health, or a bias in which these multivitamin users intrinsically have more positive views regarding their health, and then they won't seek out professional advice, guidance. So that could be a potential risk, is I'm taking this, I think I'm doing better, I think I'm healthier than I'm actually am. I don't need to worry about these diseases or anything.
A little false sense of confidence.
Yeah. So that's been a fear, and multivitamins haven't been used as much in practice in terms of like just standard of care recommending a multivitamin, because there's no real clinical efficacy behind them in terms of, you are much better off going the route of, okay, I'm going to do a blood test, see what they're deficient in, recommending a supplement that has a higher dose. It's specific for that need.
Yeah.
And then dietary guidance. And something I also just want to quickly throw out before we go into the next one is these multivitamins, greens, powders don't have fiber in them. And because a lot of people will seek these out instead of a fruit or a vegetable, that makes it even more difficult to get fiber in your diet. And we have talked about fiber so much. We have a whole research review on it, and the positive health implications of fiber, how it can reduce your risk for a variety of chronic diseases, help with weight loss, weight maintenance. There's so many benefits there. And as a whole, Americans also do not eat enough fiber. So it's really tough there with how you pick and choose. You can't do everything on improving your diet, but if you're choosing to not worry about fruits and vegetables because you're taking a supplement, it's
not a good route to go. People, it's same thing with like whey protein. Whey protein is a great supplement, but you have to remember, you're also not getting all the other micronutrients that come with the whole food source. Same thing here at the greens. It's like you're extracting that. So it's like, yes, you're getting the vitamin, but are you getting everything else that comes with the food? No. And that's usually what is part in what makes fruits and vegetables so good. So that's why I made our top list, which I think that one honestly might shock people if they haven't heard that greens powder episode we had. I think that one's gonna be the most surprising, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. It's so popular, greens powders.
Greens kills me. Now, number 5, this one I freaking love. Shout out for the boys. Number 5 on the worst supplements for you: testosterone boosters. Now, testosterone, and this is, I think, an easily marketable product. I think so. And we know the supplement industry markets on people's insecurities, and a lot of them are driven towards women. This is one that is largely driven towards men. And we know this because a lot of research is pointing that testosterone has notably been dropping in men for decades. We do not know why. It's almost an impossible thing to say this one thing causes a drop in testosterone, but it has been notable that men today in their 20s and their 30s have a lower testosterone level than 20 and 30-year-olds decades ago. It's been dropping, and we don't quite know why. And I think testosterone is it's a massively misunderstood hormone in the first place. If you want to go listen, actually, this is going to sound contradicting because I'm going to go against some of what Huberman has recommended in the past for testosterone, but he has a great overall understanding episode on what testosterone is and what it does in the human body that I recommend going to listen to. But when supplement marketers see an opportunity, they pounce on it. And if you look at it's laughable, some of the testosterone booster marketing campaigns, they sound like natural steroids. That's what they are sold as, like legitimate natural steroids that turn you into a Chris Hemsworth alpha sex god. That's the closest thing I could. It's ridiculous. The market, it's almost gross. I was going to say a couple, but you can go look for yourself. Now, when something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. And I want people to understand that. Now, the most popular ingredients for natural testosterone boosters not only lack supporting evidence, but they have plenty of evidence to actually prove that they show no effect on human testosterone levels. First one, I think this is the most common one that you will see if you look up any testosterone booster. It's usually a mix of ingredients. This one is almost always on the list, and that is Tribulus terrestris, if you've heard of that one before. Now, the claim that this specific ingredient, this is actually kind of funny, again, one of those rabbit holes I was digging down. The claim of why this increased testosterone is because it came from doping allegations in the past. Specific athletes failing a drug test for testosterone, claiming that it was this supplement in their diet, which is the funny part is they actually eventually admitted to using performance enhancing drugs, but they admitted and they first wanted to throw people off by saying, no, it was Tribulus terrestris. That's what increased my testosterone this much. They later came out and said it was PEDs, but they just brushed that under the rug. There is zero human evidence to show any effect on testosterone from this supplement. Zero. None. Zero. But the claims still erupt from gossip. Another popular one, ZMA, which is just a mixture of zinc, magnesium, and vitamin B6. Now, again, when tested on healthy individuals, ZMA has had zero impact on testosterone levels, but zinc and magnesium in particular have been shown if you are very deficient in zinc and magnesium and you increase those, you might also notice an increase in testosterone. And people really like to twist that data a little bit, right? They say, oh, see, look, it increased their testosterone by 200-300, sometimes even more on their blood tests. But these are on individuals who are severely deficient in zinc and magnesium, and also why it's important to get tested. Another one, and this is probably the most promising one, I think, when it comes to research, is D-aspartic acid, which one paper published in 2009 showed that it could increase testosterone levels in men. And the supplement companies went nuts. They found this one study and they're like, let's throw this in everything, right? Now, every study done after that showed either no effect or a very short-term increase in testosterone before returning right back down to normal. Now, it's important to note that relatively small fluctuations in testosterone levels have basically no effect on strength or muscle growth. So companies that put D-aspartic acid in and say, hey, this can increase your testosterone by 10% or X%. People don't really realize that's not enough to really make a difference. Any difference that you would really notice, especially in men. Now, the two claims that I want to jump on, because Marianne and I do have a bit of a man crush on Andrew Huberman. Is that true?
Very much so. Who doesn't?
Very much so. We love him. He's a great guy. Sometimes he reaches a little bit far with some claims and some research. He's very well quoted for recommending two supplements, Fedosia agrestis and Tangat Ali, for their testosterone boosting effects. Now, what's claimed about Tangat Ali is it's thought to decrease something called SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin, which we're not going to do a hormone deep dive right now, but essentially you have, especially for men and women, you have total testosterone when you get tested and free testosterone. The free testosterone is what is not bound up by SHBG and albumin. That's the stuff that you actually want. Now, the thought is that Tangat Ali decreases sex hormone binding globulin, meaning more testosterone ends up being free and able to be used. But all research to date only shows positive effects in either men with hypogonadism or low testosterone in the very short term. The few long-term studies have shown zero significant changes, meaning studies that took place longer than days to weeks, but actual months, meaning it might show an initial spike and then it might return back down to normal, right? So there's no real solid evidence that that actually does increase testosterone, even though it has been claimed multiple times. Same thing about
that would be sorry. Do you think that would be something like there could be sound studies showing the short-term effect being beneficial? Do you think that because there are no long-term studies, you shouldn't even try it, or is it still something maybe worth trying? You think?
So, in my opinion, because that's a great point. Like again, this doesn't disprove.
I feel like this is more of an opinion question for sure.
Yeah, this doesn't disprove that it can ever have any notable effect. In my opinion, if increasing testosterone is something that should be looked at, I think what should be prioritized is looking at what lifestyle changes can actually have a bigger impact, like your sleep, like your training program, like your diet, like your body composition, which will all have a much larger impact on testosterone than a supplement could. I think my answer there, just for most people, is it worth spending $20, $30, $40 a month to add the supplement in? For most people, no. For most people, okay, let's look at your sleep. Let's look at everything else. And same thing with the other recommendation from Huberman is Fedosia agrestis, which is claimed, and he's very strong at saying that it acts as luteinizing hormone, like HCG, which is commonly prescribed with people who are on TRT or who are having fertility issues. It naturally just tells the testes to produce more testosterone on their own. Now, I think it's very important, and this also, especially I think when Huberman talks about a lot of research, he has been a little famous for really pushing animal and rodent studies and translating them to humans. The only research done on Fedosia agrestis showing that it can actually increase testosterone was noted in white albino mice over the course of 5 days. That's it. There's no human evidence out there to show this. So again, there's no reason to think that further research in humans should be done, but there's no legitimate evidence showing that it does work in humans. And I think that's important to notice. So overall, testosterone boosters, and most of which will not have Tongat Ali and will not have Fedosia agrestis in it, it's a pretty good waste of money. And if your testosterone is low because you've gotten tested, that's something you should work with a physician on making those changes. Or if it is something like hypogonadism, looking at TRT or HRT with a physician, supplements just aren't there. In my opinion, a waste of money. And that's why I made the top 5 list.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of what Andrew Huberman is really good at disclaiming is what a supplement is, like in terms of this is a supplement in combination with maybe what you're working on with your physician. Not like a lot of animal studies, we've talked about it before, are so impactful for informing human research, and the findings are absolutely incredible. However, it's more so like there is no definite that this is going to work, and proceed at your own risk under the guidance of your physician is the best option there.
And that's the only reason I noted the other two is especially, I was actually kind of disappointed in our man because he was very straightforward. These will increase your testosterone if you take X amount. I was like, okay, pump the brakes a little bit. Let's look into it a little further. That was number 5 on our list. Now let's jump down to number 4, top 4 worst.
Collagen.
Which brings us to not just collagen. Number 4, collagen protein powder specifically. And before we jump in behind the why of collagen protein powder, I talked about this on my stories a while ago. Let's first understand what collagen is. Now, collagen is the main component of your body's connective tissues. It's the primary building block of your skin, teeth, cartilage, bones, tendons. And there's actually 3 subtypes, I guess you could call, of collagen. Type 1 collagen is the most abundant type of collagen in the human body. It's present in scar tissues, tendons, ligaments, skin, bone, and more. Type 2 collagen protects joints against damage and helps preserve their function in the body. And type 3 collagen supports various organs, such as the liver and bone marrow, as well as tissues in the lymphatic system. So collagen isn't just one thing. There's multiple kinds, multiple forms with multiple duties. Now, the why behind why this is on our worst supplement list is because the idea behind supplementing with collagen protein powder is that it will replenish the body's collagen stores to improve joint, skin, hair health, along with the muscle growth and recovery benefits that protein powders bring. Now, this is great in thought, but collagen protein is essentially a hot, steamy pile of garbage. I mean that both literally and figuratively. What you mean, Tony? How can it be figuratively garbage? Let me tell you. Collagen
Let me
protein.
tell you.
All right, how it's produced, right? How collagen protein is produced. It's produced by boiling down, filtering, and drying the connective tissues of bones, feet, and other collagen-rich parts of animals that would have otherwise been discarded after the butchering process. Stuff that would otherwise be turned into animal feed, pet food, or fertilizer. Now, companies saw this stuff going to waste or going to these fertilizer pet food companies. And guess what they saw? An opportunity for massive margins on price. Like, wait a sec, we could just remarket this as collagen protein because technically it's made with what would be considered cartilage, or not cartilage, collagen. Yes, it's important because in 2021, people spent upwards of $250 million on collagen protein supplements. Now, the claims that are made are a little bit all over the place. So let's talk about them. Now, the only collagen that might have an impact on joint health, one of the claims, is undenatured type 2 collagen. Now, this is usually sold as like an individual supplement, not what's used in collagen proteins. That's important to note. And it is the only one that has some evidence that might point to some sort of benefit. Other than that, collagen is pretty much a waste of a supplement. It does not provide the benefits. You were talking about this yesterday.
What really gets me too is it's all in theory. Okay, when you think about how you make collagen in the body, you mainly combine the two amino acids, glycine, proline, and then I think there's like a hydroxyproline in there. The thought that supplementing with collagen will create more collagen in your body. But no, we don't get to decide what we choose, the foods we eat. That food also contains collagen.
Yeah.
We don't get to dictate how much collagen we make or when we make it from what. So you have the best way to increase your collagen, and especially as you get older, because collagen production naturally slows with age. That is true, which is why a high protein diet as you get older is also so important, because you're getting those amino acids, glycine and protein, from animal-based products, and you have more of the building blocks to make collagen. So that overall is the best thing you can do. But thinking that just because I'm having collagen, it's going to be broken down anyway, that I'm going to use these building blocks to make more collagen. No, we use amino acids and proteins for so many different other functions, and they're essential for so many other things in the body. Thinking that automatically, because I am taking collagen, it's going to turn into more collagen in my body is absolutely ridiculous.
It's convenient for marketers, for sure. It's convenient.
Yeah.
Your collagen decreases as you get older. Just take the supplement with collagen in it, and that will fix your problem. No, that's not how it works. Just how the fat you eat does not automatically go to fat in your body.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's just because of the same name doesn't mean it has the direct impact. Now, not only does it not bring any impact towards those claims about your skin, your joint health, your hair, nail health, all these things, they don't only underdeliver there, but it's also, they're like, it's still a good protein powder. It's just protein's protein. Wrong again. Now, we've talked about protein quality in our protein episode before, and how you judge a protein quality is generally by the amino acid profile, or the amino acids that are making up that source of protein. Not only is it failing and falling short on all those claims, it's also got a terrible amino acid profile. Like you said, the main amino acids in there are glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline. It is not high in the one amino acid that is huge for driving muscle protein synthesis, building muscle, protecting muscle, leucine. It's extremely low, about 2.9% consists of leucine in collagen protein powder. So not only does it underdeliver in the aspects of the claims that it made, it also is a terrible actual source of protein.
Yeah.
It's garbage. It literally comes from garbage. Now, any research that has shown because there are some certain studies that show small differences in what they measured, right, in skin, hair, joint, or nail health, they were one. And this is a 100% of the time. Any study that showed a positive effect was funded by a company that sells collagen protein. That is not an immediate disqualification or discredit, but it's a big red flag because all the research that shows no difference comes from independent research or companies that do not sell collagen protein. The other is that any of the studies that showed any, and again, any positive, I'm talking tiny positive benefits, were very poorly structured studies. No double blind placebo, no randomized controlled trial, and very temptive and lucrative, I guess you could say, wording where it's like, were we testing actual measures of outcome or were we doing a questionnaire? And whenever you have a questionnaire, these can be positive, but you can also, people know this, manipulate with how you ask certain questions. So certain questions, one of them I even pulled was, your skin is looking better, isn't it? That's how they worded the question, not have you noticed a difference in your skin quality, in your skin moisture? Your skin is looking better, right? That's how they're wording these questions to certain people. So it's just a big red flag to where, one, it's just supplement companies that found a lot of wasted product in garbage that they could recycle and make as protein powders and sell it to you as. It's just trash that you're putting in your body. And that's why it made the list. It honestly might have been higher if it was a more common supplement. But I mean, 250 mil last year, that's pretty big. And that's why it's on the list.
Yeah. When you think about one of the top companies that sells collagen, and especially in the beginning stages, Vital Proteins, I'm going to name drop, I don't really care. But their whole campaign was based off of getting celebrities to market them. And that is, I personally think, one of the biggest things you could look out for when it comes to knowing whether or not a company is reputable. If they only have celebrities marketing their products and only have celebrity influencers, like I'm talking Kourtney Kardashian is one of the biggest people selling Vital Protein. She has it in her whatever thing, Poosh. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. Kardashians are a huge advertiser of Vital Proteins. When you think about the millions of dollars that goes into just getting them alone to sell the product.
Yeah. How much
they don't
money
care
do
about
you
your
really?
health. Yeah.
Yeah. And think about those margins it takes for that.
Yeah.
Like, how much money do you have to spend on marketing to afford that? Where are you getting that money from? Selling the product. So you must be making quite a bit. You're telling me the Kardashians aren't real? They're
not real.
trustworthy?
No, I wouldn't say so. No, definitely. But they have a huge social impact. Regardless of how much people hate them, they have a huge social impact, especially on young, impressionable women.
I gotta have Courtney's back because she's dating Travis Barker. Or she's married now and I love him.
Yeah.
So I gotta be Team Court. Even though I will not buy anything to support her. Courtney, that message is for you. Now, number 3 on our list, we're not going to spend too much time on this one because number 3, right? We're counting down the list so far. Starting out, we had greens powders, multivitamins is number 6, testosterone boosters at number 5, collagen protein powder at number 4. Number 3, we actually did an episode on Factor Cap a long time ago on BCAAs. We did a whole episode on this. It doesn't take too much explaining to do, right? Branched chain amino acids or BCAA supplements, right? First, to understand, protein is made up of chains of smaller compounds known as amino acids. The amino acids are the building blocks of the many tissues in our body, including muscle, hair, skin, and nails. So when you hear people say protein is the building blocks of muscle, they're really talking about the amino acids it is broken down into. Now, your body can make 11 of the amino acids it needs, but must obtain the final 9 from the food you eat. These are called EAs, or essential amino acids. Branched chain amino acids, or BCAA supplements, they're going to be a group of 3 essential amino acids called leucine, isoleucine, and valine, which are chemically chained together, right? Leucine, the one we were talking about in the one above that collagen protein lacks in, that is the main driver of muscle protein synthesis. It's found in meat, eggs, dairy. Whey protein has about 5 grams of it per serving, right? Leucine is a very powerful amino acid. Now, the claims behind BCAAs are that it boosts your muscle growth, it promotes weight loss, it accelerates your recovery and soreness, it reduces fatigue, they're essentially built on a pile of shit, right? They're just built on a pile of crap, right? Any research that supports these claims, because there is research that supports these claims, that it helps you recover faster, perform better, doing all these things, they're only shown when the subjects have an extremely low protein diet or are in a fasted state. That's important to say, because any and all benefits of BCAAs disappear when the subjects are getting a moderate protein diet. When you have enough protein in your diet, because those proteins are always going to be broken down into amino acids, any of those benefits disappear. And that's what we talked about that entire episode. And I think it's funny because the evidence on this is clear, right? Not only is there a lack of evidence, there's not just a lack of evidence, there's so much evidence showing that it does not make a difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
So companies, and this is just my opinion, when there is a supplement with so much evidence showing that these don't do anything, we will tell you to your face, these don't do anything, and they continue to promote and to sell these with these claims, the companies that are selling you this, they know these don't work. They know this. It's impossible for them not to know this. So that means they are lying to your face. So companies that sell BCAA products in particular, I tend not to shop with them for any product, because if they're going to lie to me to try and deceive me and market me on this, it's not saying that everything else they sell is bad, but if that's going to be their ethics on how they approach it, where else does that bleed into? The only one thing is people think in fasted, and I've talked about this before, if you train fasted, because a lot of people train in the morning, I know I train in the morning on usually an empty stomach, that is one scenario where a specific supplement might help and it keeps you in a fasted state. But I always recommend something called HMB. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the full name of it, but HMB supplementation, massively cheaper than a BCAA supplement because they're usually pretty expensive too, right? But HMB is a metabolite of leucine, which stimulates muscle protein synthesis even more. And that's what you would want before a fasted training session to limit muscle protein breakdown that you might get if you're training and you're going in a longer fasted state. But again, you could buy that for $10 on Amazon compared to a $40 BCAA supplement, which you could get just as much from whey protein powder. Has more BCAAs than a BCAA supplement, and it's usually cheaper per serving too. So that's why I made the list. We had that full episode on there too. Now, number 2 and number 1. I'm going to knock number 2. Mariana's got number 1. Number 2 is fat burners, fat burning supplements, right? And we want to go in and I want to cover this a little bit more lucratively. Now, fundamentally, these are misleading and they're sold and marketed. And fundamentally, they are just misleading, right? They're marketed and these are usually straight off the bottle, right? It increases fat oxidation. It boosts thyroid function. It increases thermogenesis. It's going to manipulate certain enzymes related to storing fat. It reduces water retention. It improves nutrient partitioning. These are how these claims are all coming from. And these are all aspects of fat loss. They are. But this type of marketing is just trying to wow you with terminology that you do not understand. And that same like jumping a bridge of conclusion, just so you accept the claimed benefits at face value. Kind of the same thing with the whole collagen, right? Oh, my collagen in my body is lower. If I take more, it'll go up. It's a half truth, right? Yes, the collagen in your body is lower, but no, taking a supplement is not going to fix that.
Yeah. I think my biggest tiff I have with the fat burning supplements and the fact there's so many supplements nowadays that are disguised as fat burners. They won't say they are a fat burner, but it's just like you use different names now. And it's just my biggest issue is I think on the consumer end of if these actually worked, why would we be having this conversation? Why would they be so cool? If they actually worked, everyone would know. They'd be in medicine, they would be distributed everywhere. We would
Oh
not
my God,
have
every
an
doctor's office.
obesity. We would not have an issue with obesity. People would not be like it. We just wouldn't, because this readily available supplement, if it was as easy as that, we'd be talking about it.
Like seriously, take a zoom out and think about what she just said. We have an obesity epidemic. If a pill solved that problem, why would it not be the front line of every doctor's office saying, hey, get on this? It shouldn't be up for debate. If it worked, it wouldn't be up for debate. And I think it's in how it's marketed too, because certain compounds, certain ones that we actually talk about, like synephrine, caffeine, yohimbine, can actually influence fat oxidation, which we've talked about in another episode as well. Fat burning and losing fat are not the same thing. Not the same thing. So it can influence these things, but it's who they're marketed to. If you are in a calorie deficit consistently, some of these things may influence certain particular parts, but expectation wise, they're not going to make any notable difference. I think the only recommended benefit for things like, again, synephrine, himbine, caffeine, things that actually do influence and have research behind it, they would only really be notable or see a notable difference for those, I think, at very, very low body fat percentages, like contest prep bodybuilding, who want to see an extra 1% benefit, who are strictly dieting in a calorie deficit, not someone who's on and off of their diet, not someone who's strictly off, not someone who has to lose 20, 30, 40 pounds. You're not going to notice a difference when you take these compounds. And most of the time, the people using those are usually using things like illegal compounds or like things like clenbuterol, things that are anabolic steroids that would do much better than a supplement would. So it's not saying that there are no compounds that exist that influence this. Another one being L-carnitine, even though when you take L-carnitine, that's a popular one that I would lump in this category. It can influence fat oxidation, but when you take it orally, less than 14% is actually absorbed by the body. The rest is excreted. So you would need an ungodly amount to make a difference. You'd need to inject it to actually make a little bit of a difference. So that's why fat burners make our list, is because they're fundamentally just misleading. Yes, certain ones do have an effect in certain scenarios, but none that I would ever really recommend.
Yeah. You think about caffeine, like even I was just drinking a Celsius. I wish I kept the can. Like it has a claim on the Celsius that it says it burns fat. And you'll see on their website, oh, studies support this. No, studies support that caffeine in isolation and at very high doses can help increase the rate of fatty acid oxidation, or that fat burning. I'm saying in quotation marks, which is burning fat for fuel. That is where you'll see, oh, but on their website, it says that studies support it. It's like most of these studies are looking at these compounds, ingredients in isolation, not as part of a greater product, as a small percentage of a product. And it's just like the way that people take these and are just like, oh, well, if I put this into my product, of course it's going to make people want to buy it.
For reference, for people that have not listened to that, I think it was the 12-3-30 episode where we talked about fat oxidation or fat burning versus losing fat. You're burning fat all day long. Right now, probably just listening to this, you are burning, oxidizing fat for fuel and energy. If you're not in a calorie deficit, it doesn't matter how much fat you are burning through the day. You will not lose body fat unless you're in a calorie deficit. Yeah. That's the important piece. So does caffeine improve fat oxidation? How much fat is being mobilized? Yes. But you got to remember, fat's also being stored, and it will also influence to potentially throw that balance back to normal. Yeah. So that's a big one, and that's why it made a list. So let's go number 1. All the way from the top, we start with greens and multivitamins, testosterone boosters, collagen protein powder, AAs, down to fat burners. What's number 1 on our biggest waste of money? People crossing their fingers at home.
Read off the potential benefits of number 1 first that are listed on.
Oh, and then we can guess
on the bottles. So first is boost your immune system, promotes healthy digestion, helps promote a healthy thyroid, supports a healthy heart, helps maintain a healthy weight. I have to give them credit for how cautious they are about I'll make a note of this after. Promotes healthier hair, skin, and nails, speedy post-workout recovery. So
super speedy.
This wording right here, this helps prevent lawsuits, because the promotes, helps, supports is not saying cause and effect. That does not outwardly say cause and effect, although consumers take that as cause and effect. This would be the wonderful supplement that I love so much, CMOS.
Give me 10 of them. They support everything.
Yes. And here is the issue with CMOS, falls under the issue with a lot of supplements, is these bold claims are, like I was just mentioning, a lot are based off of studies that have looked at nutrients in isolation. So a common example of this is you see this with a lot of antioxidants. So there's a lot of studies done on blueberries, for example, blueberry consumption. Blueberries are incredibly high in antioxidants. So there are a lot of animal studies that will mix these rats, mice with the antioxidants in blueberries and see all of these benefits from them. You'll see that a lot. And then in humans, you'll see, okay, people who eat more blueberries are less likely to die from heart disease, something like that.
Yeah.
And if you have, and now if supplements add any form of antioxidants, and this could be from any other antioxidant rich food, they take those claims and tap them onto their label. This is a lot of what sea moss will do because it has 102 vitamins and minerals. It has all the vitamins and minerals you could possibly need. So this kind of ties
I
back
can't even
into,
count that high.
yeah. So it assumes, right, that you can't get these anywhere else. It assumes that everyone, you need this when you can get these from your diet. There is no need to have sea moss in the first place. It's also very, very expensive. Sea moss is more expensive
I was gonna say
than,
what did we say it was? We looked it up for that one episode.
if you get the sea moss gel, I'm sure there's different forms. Let me see what the one I have.
I'm looking it up because that one was absolutely insane.
But, and also all these claims, there's no research like attached on this website. There's nothing. It's just, and so another issue is, so people primarily harvest sea moss from carrageenan, which is a natural food thickener, and it has a high micronutrient content. That's why companies also make like health supplements and gels. It's high in micronutrients. A lot of foods are high in micronutrients. But any of the benefits of sea moss are anecdotal. They lack any scientific evidence. There are few studies done on seaweed and algae, not sea moss. But all of these studies have been conducted in test tubes or on animals. And these health benefits are extracted from these seaweed and algae studies in a test tube or in animals. So that alone is just moss. I scoured the internet for specifically sea moss. All of the databases like PubMed, Nature, Examine, nothing on seaweed specifically. I couldn't even track anything down for animals.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might have found a few like in vitro studies. But again, these are all extrapolated from seaweed and algae because they're in a similar family. So that's just like the first red flag is these claims are bold. The claims that I just listed off
that was a big list.
Bold. And those are just potential benefits from animal and test tube studies for seaweed and algae, not sea moss. So that's just no one's transparent about that, and you probably should be. Nothing you can't get from your diet alone. So this is a really popular claim, and this is one of the reasons why I specifically have an issue with sea moss is marketing it as you get all of the vitamins and minerals you need, and the government doesn't want to tell you because you can't get this from your diet, and this cures all diseases. And it's like, where reach a little further.
It's a freaking slippery slope. They just fall down that trap.
Yeah, and I'm not going to reiterate the messaging I was giving about the multivitamins and the greens powders because it is very similar.
Yeah.
But if your diet is ass, okay, if you're just eating the standard American diet, you don't have any fruits, vegetables, whole grains, very little fiber, very little healthy foods, if you're not moving, and then maybe you start adding in some sea moss, and maybe because you're adding in some sea moss, you're also a little bit more cognizant of your diet throughout the rest of your day because you're consciously making a health informed decision.
Yeah.
And that's what happens with a lot of these supplements. Yeah, maybe you'll see some improvements. You'll feel better. But it doesn't base it off of the healthy people who are taking this. You see these affluent, rich influencers, they all look the same. They're having their gross spoonful of sea moss every morning that they got from Erewhon. That was like $20-$30 a bottle.
No, I think it was even more. I think it was even more than that. It was like $30 or $40 a week for how much they were using when we found it. But yeah, it's the influencer type that you see shoveling it down their throat.
But that is their target audience, right? So I've said this before. I just recently made a TikTok about this that went viral, and people will read off these claims on the bottle as they're eating it, and target audience reached people who read these claims and don't think twice about them, totally believe them, or don't think twice about the price and just take them along with the hundreds of other supplements that they're taking every morning and on top of the healthful diet they eat. That's the target audience.
Like it's again, like what we did all like the beginning of this podcast. It's like they're literally, which is the funniest part about the one that you stitched. reading off the benefits from the person who's selling you that product.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, look at this. It's going to help my heart health and my immune health and my
Yeah.
energy levels and my sleep and my.
It's just like the marketing teams must just eat that up because it's almost comical because of how easy it is. It is that easy as slapping on those huge, bold statements. And it's almost like this power thing. This is now my opinion, but I think it makes people feel empowered when they have access to these fancy supplements and claim that they're taking control of their health, because that can make you feel empowered, taking control of your health. But it assumes that other people, if you're not doing this, it's like something is wrong. You might have something wrong. It's so strange to me. And if you're eating a well-balanced diet, or even if you're not and are really want to improve your diet as a whole, seek out dietary interventions first. I know it may seem easier to just take a supplement. It is easier to just take a supplement, but it is not better.
Not the same thing.
It is, if you're taking a supplement to cover up a diet that isn't the best, you're not reaping any benefits from it. So pick where you put your energy and money into. If you have the money to buy sea moss, you have the money to buy some veggies. I know it's an expensive world right now, but if you're going to pick where you put your money and you have it, put it towards some veggies, even if they're frozen, even if they're canned.
Yeah. And we apologize if you are already taking all 6 of those on our worst supplement list. We recommend you save your money. You can put it elsewhere. You can buy a lot of other things. Maybe you could save up enough to buy Taylor Swift tickets.
Yo, how about that? People are like,
I was like, maybe if you save enough. I'm like, I wonder how much money, if you took all 6 of these supplements, how much money you'd save.
I was honestly shocked because, oh my God, people are probably going to be mad. I've thought her past like 3 albums have been trash. And this is coming from
people are going to be upset. I'm upset.
I've been to 4 of her concerts. I love Taylor Swift.
You don't sound like a fan. What about the newest one?
I don't like it. I like Taylor Swift.
Why do you go to the concerts if you don't like her music?
I think she's an incredible performer. Her concerts are the best concerts I've been to. It's definitely a good concert, but I'm just saying.
We're going to have a feisty conversation after this podcast is over. But we saved down, you put your down deposit on some T-Swift tickets now. Let's go to the ones that are the best. Top 5 best. And we have some honorable mentions as well. But again, these are going to be judged off of the same qualities that we did with the worst, right? These are based on quality, effectiveness, value, and the research behind these supplements. Do we want to start or finish with honorable mentions? Do we want to do honorable mentions second?
Yeah.
Do you think do our top 5 list?
Skim through the honorable mentions.
And more specifically, these are not supplements that we think every single person should take, but these are the supplements that we think would benefit the majority of individuals, but everything is on a per context basis, right? We probably slip up here and there. Everyone does, but we try not to ever say everyone should be taking this or everyone should do this, because that's never going to be a correct or true statement. There's hardly any absolutes when it comes to fitness, nutrition, and absolutely supplements. There's no There's no absolutes. So these are the top 5 that will give reasoning behind what they are, why they might be advantageous. And starting off the list, I think this one's going to shock people more that it made the list. And one that I've been getting more and more into more recently is magnesium as our top 5 best supplements. Top 5 magnesium. Now, why do we put it here? It's a big deal. One of its main roles is to act as a cofactor or a helper molecule involved in over 600 reactions in the body, including energy creation, protein formation, gene maintenance, muscle movements, nervous system regulation, and it plays an important role in muscle, brain, mood, and sleep health, right? This is one of those big things that is a very key player in so many different bodily functions. And here's actually important note, and this is what I learned as I mentioned before. When I found out I had low vitamin D in my blood test, I immediately thought, okay, I'll just go buy a vitamin D supplement. But there's supplements that you want to take with vitamin D when you want to improve those levels. So if you take vitamin D, you really should probably look into taking magnesium along with it. And here's why. The body is also dependent, or the body depends on magnesium to convert vitamin D into its active form within the body. And the research was actually astounding on this. The research shows that if a person is deficient in magnesium, no amount of vitamin D supplementation will actually improve blood vitamin D concentration. So people saying, oh, you should take 2,000 IU a day, 5,000 IU a day, 10,000 IU of vitamin D a day. That's usually what the measurement is. if you're deficient in magnesium, you could take as much as you want. It's not going to get converted into usable in your body. I think that's
Yeah.
important to recognize. People don't, because people always, I think, put K2, vitamin K2, and vitamin D together. You see a lot of supplements online because that helps convert it so it can be used by your bone. Magnesium is a massive player in that, and it's estimated that 50 to 80% of US adults do not get the RDA through diet alone. That's why it's on our top 5 list, is so many people are deficient in it. So many people are not hitting their RDA, and it is such a massive key players.
When I found that out, I started eating, because I learned about that. I'm extremely vitamin D deficient, and no one told me. Doctors, I just took vitamin D and it was not improving. It wasn't at all. And then once I started working at my old company, did a blood test and got tested for magnesium. Then I started taking magnesium, and then my vitamin D improved. So that's when I don't take magnesium anymore because I have a lot of seeds in my diet. And I know for some people that may be more difficult, but like I have a lot of
Yeah.
pumpkin and sunflower seeds every single day. Those are extremely high in magnesium. So I just think I am never not amazed by this aspect of nutrition science that a lot of people don't really think about, is the role that so many different vitamins and minerals play together in the body to produce an outcome. It's like one of my professors used to talk about nutrition science as like an orchestra when you're talking about micronutrients. And that is why a varied diet, you will hear that over and over again from a lot of nutrition professionals when it comes to what are some of the most important things you can do for your health from a nutrition perspective. Eating a varied whole foods diet. And that's one of the biggest reasons, is because there are so many micronutrients that are important for each other's proper functioning.
It's crazy. And especially because a lot of primary care, like if you go to them with a vitamin D deficiency, a lot of people just say, yeah, just supplement with vitamin D. They won't ask about your magnesium levels. They won't ask about other things. I know we talk about this, like we just got blood work done with Merrick that is a very in-depth testing on it. That's why it's important to look at everything in depth, zoomed out, and in context.
Yeah.
Right? It's like just supplementing with vitamin D isn't promised to do anything. And for a lot of people, just by taking magnesium, we'll see their vitamin D levels naturally increase because they are getting it through the sun, through everything else, but they just aren't able to use it, which is so cool. But magnesium is a big player in this. Now, here's one thing where if you're not getting enough through your diet, because it is very big in seeds and some nuts, right? But if you're not getting it through your diet, you might be overwhelmed because there are 10 different kinds of magnesium. Right? There are 10 different kinds of magnesium that you could supplement with. All of them have a little bit different advantages, but here's what they do. Here's what each of them do and what they're used for. First, magnesium oxide. That's probably the most common one you're going to see in supplements, especially if you go buy your supplements at the grocery store, which the more I dug into this, I'm slowly starting to learn you probably shouldn't be getting your supplements from the grocery store. Like most of those brands are going to be a little bit cheaper, but if you look at your magnesium supplement, it says magnesium oxide. Just know that only about 4% of that supplement gets absorbed, right? It's the most common and found in cheap brands. It's best to avoid magnesium oxide. Only 4% of this is getting absorbed. It's not something that's really going to impact your levels. Next are quite a few: magnesium glycinate, citrate, chloride, taurate, and orotate. I hope I said that last one. These are the most bioavailable forms, typically taken orally to replenish those low levels. So these are all, and they all have minor differences to them, right? But these are all pretty bioavailable, well absorbed, and can actually be used as your body. So ones that you want to look for on your magnesium supplements. But, and this is a big, this is a speaking from experience
Also,
kind of
same.
talk.
I'm so glad you
Be
went this
close.
direction.
Too much is going to cause, it's also used to treat constipation. I can word it like that. It's used to treat constipation, especially in larger doses. You might sit on the toilet for 10 times longer than usual if you take too much. That's just a fair warning if you take too much. So start small and increase from there if you do. But those are the most bioavailable forms. Next is one that's a more recent one put in supplements. Huberman recommended this actually, where I found out about it. Magnesium threonate. This is one of the only forms that crosses the blood-brain barrier. It's the best for sleep, anxiety, and relaxation. I actually take this every night about an hour or two before bed to calm down, not make you tired, but just put you in a calmer state. That's what that's typically used for. Magnesium lactate is a bit easier on digestion, right? Easier on digestion. So this is better for those who need higher doses, who are recommended by physicians for higher doses of magnesium to avoid sitting on the toilet for excess periods of time. Magnesium lactate, magnesium malate, right? This is well absorbed, usually used for performance and recovery, aiding in oxygen to muscle tissue, and magnesium sulfate, also known as Epsom salt, the thing people use in baths to help with muscle soreness, relaxation, that is magnesium sulfate. So 10 different kinds of supplementation. Really the biggest one to avoid would be oxide, just because your body is not going to be able to use it. And those are the uses for all the others. But again, just, you know what? You could F around and take as much as you want, but just speaking from experience, just play it safe. Start small.
Don't do that.
Yeah, please don't. Please don't. So that's why I made number 5 on our list. Number 4. Let's move on. Let's crack these down.
One.
Number 4. This one's going to be Mariana's favorite. Did we do a research review on this too? I know we did a full episode on this.
We did a full episode on fish oil.
On fish oil. Yes, you could always revisit this.
Yeah. And that dives way, way deeper. And this is also one of those supplements that fish oil, omega-3s in the standard American diet are not readily available. Sorry, do you hear that dog? Holy crap.
A little bit. He sounds cute, a little feisty.
But the standard American diet does not contain any omega-3s really. So a lot of Americans are deficient. Again, deficiency, it's really hard to test for omega-3s on a blood test. So you can, but it's not as common for it be on a standard blood test. But most Americans do not get enough in their diet. But so that is the case there. If you do eat a lot of fatty fishes, you have a lot of nuts and seeds, and you have a lot of, say, let's see what other, flax oil, flax seeds, salmon. If you get those types of foods in your diet, you definitely do not need to be supplementing with a fish oil, especially if you live in an area where seafood is readily available. However, if you do not really ever consume high omega-3 foods and you find it hard to get it into your diet, definitely can be advantageous to take a fish oil supplement.
Yeah. And I think that's just why it made the list too, as a top supplement of ours, is because, and I even drew this out, researchers from the Pennsylvania State University, when they actually looked into it, they found the average diet in America provides around 1/10 of the needed EPA and DHA, or those omega-3 fatty acids recommended for heart health and so many other benefits. And a couple other, I think this is just translates so far, and I do recommend to listen to that full episode. When EPA and DHA levels are low, increasing them, people tend to notice improved mood, level lowers of depression, anxiety, stress, improved cognitive performance in memory, attention, reaction time, reduced muscle and joint soreness, improved fat loss and muscle gain. This is a very important compound in your body. It can also be found in things like grass-fed beef, eggs, outside of the fattier fish as well. Now, one thing I did want to point out when it comes to supplementation of fish oils is that there's 2 main kinds that you find in supplement: ethyl ester fish oils and re-esterified triglyceride oil. Right? Those are the 2 main kinds that provide these. Now, ethyl ester is the most popular used in supplements, but it's also the cheapest to produce. It's less absorbed and it goes bad quicker, right? These are usually also lower in EPA and DHA content, which I'm going to touch on in a second because that's important. The re-esterified triglyceride oil, this is kind of like the gold standard in fish oil. Higher absorption rates used in the body, higher EPA and DHA, because here's the biggest thing. Is if you go to the store, I do not recommend buying fish oil supplements from the grocery store. And here's why. If you look at yours, if you have one in the cabinet from the grocery store, it might tell you you're getting 1, 2, 3, 4 grams of fish oil, but that doesn't mean you're getting as much EPA and DHA, that omega-3 that's actually important. That's what you want. So look at how much total fish oil your supplement has, and then look at how much total EPA and DHA it has. Because typically those grocery store brands and much of the cheaper brands, they do not have a lot of EPA and DHA, where you would need 5, 10, 15 pills to get what you would be recommended. I know dosages, again, talk to your physician, but they average anywhere from 500 milligrams to almost 2 grams of combined EPA and DHA. And larger doses are even being studied for certain things. So look at your EPA and DHA if you are pushed down that supplement route for fish oil. But that easily made our top 5
Mm-hmm.
at number
Yeah.
4. Now, number 3, one that we've talked about twice already.
I
So we'll go
know.
through it. Vitamin D. Vitamin D. I think this one we unanimously decided on when we were coming up with this list as well. Vitamin D, you have to remember, is a hormone. I think people get that confused because it's labeled as a vitamin. Vitamin D is a hormone because it's synthesized endogenously through ultraviolet exposure of the skin. It is a hormone. Huh. People don't think about it like
Yeah.
that. Now, when our skin is exposed to UV rays from the sun, the rays interact with a form of cholesterol in our body to produce vitamin D. For example, with about 25% of our skin exposed, our bodies can produce up to 400 IU of vitamin D in just 3 to 6 minutes of exposure to direct sunlight. That's, for example, because it's measured in IU. Now, depending on your diet, your latitude, your skin pigmentation, and your genes, you need anywhere between 15 and 60 minutes of direct sunlight per day to maintain sufficient levels, which coming into the wintertime, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, and depending on where you live in general, that's not always happening. People aren't always getting that. And I don't have the exact numbers here. Do you know off the top of your head? I think it's above 70% of Americans are deficient in vitamin D
Oh,
when they
I
get
don't know off
blood
the
tests
top of
done.
my.
I want to get the exact number, but it's a massive amount, almost an like epidemic level of this because it's such an important hormone in your body, right? Almost every type of tissue and cell in your body has vitamin D receptors, including your heart, your brain, and even fat cells. Even more recent research from Boston University Medical Center shows that vitamin D also regulates genes that control immune function, metabolism, and even cell growth and development. So, another power hitter along with magnesium, but people are starting to realize, and I think this is more common in literature now, that vitamin D is a powerhouse and something that should be heavily focused on in people, especially because of how deficient people tend to be. And I think the dosage
Yeah.
depends on a lot, right? So I'm not going to say I recommend taking 5,000 IU a day or 10,000 IU a day. And this is one of those supplements as well that can have a toxic effect too much. So you want to be careful with that, right? But it depends on a lot. So talk to your
Mm-hmm.
physician and monitor your blood work to get it checked, right? Usually, if you're supplementing with vitamin D, you're also going to supplement with a magnesium, maybe a malate, and a K2 to help with the absorption. But check your blood levels before you get this done because, again, I wasn't supplementing with vitamin D until I got my levels tested and realized how low they actually were. And I know optimal blood levels are to lie. I think the reference range says anywhere from 30 to 100, but I know optimal ranges are usually upwards of 70 to 100 if you get your
Mm-hmm.
blood tested.
In the US, it says that 50% of the population have vitamin D insufficiency and 35% of adults have vitamin D deficiency. So there's like a line there with what is insufficiency, deficiency on the very low end before it's deemed deficiency.
I know one of my good friends got tested. She was like 32, 33, which again is technically in reference range. But we know, and we've talked about this before in blood work, and we have a blood episode coming on interpreting blood results. The reference range doesn't automatically mean good for where you're at. And I know we were talking about testosterone earlier for like men, for example. The reference range is anywhere from 300 nanograms per deciliter all the way up to 1200. No matter if you're a 22-year-old dude or a 90-year-old man, that's one reference range where it's like, okay, the younger, the more active, the healthier you are, the higher those numbers generally want to be. That's the optimum level. Same thing with vitamin D.
Yeah.
Look at it on a context basis. So
Yeah.
those are our top 3. I think top 2 are not going to shock people too much, but top 3, I think people might have learned. I don't know. I don't know if everyone is looking at fish oil, magnesium, and vitamin D so far, or at least understanding why. So I hope that shed a little bit of light.
What really grinds my gears is this isn't, it's like, oh, go take fit. That's not sexy. Like all these supplements that people talk about and go viral on the internet are these complexes and crazy things that can cure
Yeah.
XYZ. And you guys will probably notice by now, the best supplements we list, we're not saying that they cure anything or have any magical superpowers. That's not what sells. It's not sexy.
But it doesn't mean they're any less important. I think it's just, I don't know if
Yeah.
we've done this, but I think this is a good, it's like setting expectations as far as supplements is so important
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's in the marketing for those coming into supplements and, oh, what supplement should I take? expectations are that supplements are going to radically impact your progress. And none even the best, the top two that we're going to talk about, are going to radically influence your progress. They can help on the compounding effect of like over time, day to day, in and out, but no supplement is going to make a major difference. And I want people to understand that. But expectation wise, I think that's what certain people think is like, oh, the top five, what's going to help me burn fat, build an insane amount of muscle and strength? There's no supplement that's going to do anything that your training program, your sleep and recovery and lifestyle, and your diet aren't going to do 100 times better. I think that's important to recognize. Now, number two, this is going to shock some people because of how big of a fangirl I am. I put creatine at number two behind number one. Creatine at number two behind number one. Now, do we need to spend a lot of time on this? No. We did an entire deep dive episode, which we might want to redo. That was an early on podcast, but we did a deep dive video on creatine because it was blowing up. But here's why. We pulled these studies from examine.com, our friends over there who do an excellent job reviewing and collecting research and data. Creatine is the single most studied sports supplement, single most studied and safe sports supplement above any vitamin that we listed above. Creatine's there. Over 66 studies on creatine showing it increases power output and strength. Over 15 studies showing that it helps decrease fatigue and increases fatigue resistance during training, more specifically weight training. 18 different studies showing that it can increase your anaerobic capacity, and at least 3 studies even showing promising data that creatine playing a role in improving major depressive disorder and its interactions with SSRIs. But this is important to understand. I think that's kind of the cool part. What we dug a little bit deeper in that episode, I think, is about 95% of creatine is stored in muscle tissue. 5% is stored in your brain. And that's the new kind of aspect being explored. And for those unaware, creatine is also, it's a naturally occurring amino acid in your body. Everybody has it. If you have a little baby at home, he's got creatine in his body. Supplementing with creatine just slightly increases how much is stored in your muscle tissue. That's all it does. And I think what we did in that episode and what I think is really helpful for people to understand creatine better, we're not going to go into the ADP and ATP recycling process. We're not going to go into all that, but we reframed it. Instead of thinking as creatine as, oh, is it going to make me, is it good for fat loss? Is it going to help me build muscle? Is it going to help me do XYZ? Creatine does one thing really good, really well, and it improves your performance in the gym. That's what it's really, really good for. Is it improves your performance in the gym. So if improved performance would help you accomplish whatever goal you have, then yes, creatine would make sense. So would improved performance in the gym help you build muscle? Yes, then creatine would make sense. Would improved performance in the gym help with fat loss? Yes, then that would make sense. And that in that episode, we recommended it's a male, female, fat loss, muscle building. It is a pretty well-rounded supplement that we, I think, agreed on is going to be in most people's daily routine, young, old, male, female, anywhere, here in the near future. That's number two. Quick update on I think what we covered after the episode, the types of creatine, just so those know, if you're unaware, have not listened to that yet, there is creatine monohydrate, which is used in a vast majority of the study. And when you measure it up next to any other form of creatine, if it's micronized creatine, ethyl ester, HCl, it performs just as good, if not better than any other form. And it's also the cheapest form, even though I know the price of creatine has increased significantly over the last few months. It is the gold standard monohydrate. Micronized is essentially that, just micronized, ground down, more fine version of monohydrate. So if you do have stomach or digestion issues from creatine monohydrate, that would be the only other option I guess I would try as a micronized creatine. But ethyl ester is no better than monohydrate, but it's just more expensive. HCl, same thing, no better than monohydrate, just more expensive. Bulk Supplements has a great creatine monohydrate. Legion has a micronized, so if you have those digestion issues, that's where I'd go. And from the dosing, depending on your body size, anywhere between 3 and 10 grams per day based on your body weight. I think I did a calculation on that on social media a while ago, if you want to go back and find out where you need to be. But that's number two. Number two. Can you guess what number? People listening, I wonder if we're giving it away. Do we know what number one is? Is this a given?
No. Because I don't think people look at this as a supplement. It's not as marketed as, I don't know.
Actually, I think you're right. I don't think it's as given of a supplement. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Number one. I was trying to think of like the funniest thing I could say right now. What's that one that people are talking about that people are using instead of steroids?
Oh my God, God, if I know. I'm not in that world.
Oh, you're not on that side of the social media realm?
No.
Well, then never mind.
I
I was
have
going to
been
think of
getting
a
that
good,
guy who like yells at you to go to the gym and he's like pink and really juicy and long hair and
God,
he spits his drink out and he's like,
the
"Do you
most
know what?"
annoying. Yes, who's always swinging the shoulder. He's the most annoying person on the internet. I loathe him. Number one, the number one supplement, and I'm going to explain why we said this here, is a solid, not always, but solid protein powder, usually whey
Mm,
protein, but we're talking about protein powders. Number one, and people are like, Scott, whatever, I don't need whatever. Listen, please, and why we put it at number one. This is our collective agreement. This is the most important supplement or the best supplement you can have in your routine. Now, the why behind it is because it is a phenomenal supplement, whether your goal is to build muscle or to lose fat. Losing fat, especially. I'm going to talk about that down below, but why it's even more important for fat loss than when building muscle, or when it's more advantageous. Now, what you want to look for in a solid protein powder, and I guess more reason on the why, is something that tastes and mixes well, something that has a good macronutrient profile, has a good amino acid profile, and is absorbed well by the body, and is a decent price per serving. Now, I think people misunderstand. I'm going to talk about whey protein and whey protein isolate, even though there's many forms that we're going to go over here soon, right? But whey protein is usually touted as the best. It's important to understand this. People think whey protein is like a fake protein, and that's why they don't think it's as good as food, whatever it is. And is it as good as food? Most like no, depending on
no.
context, but it's not a fake protein. It is an isolated protein taken away from the fats and carbs from dairy, right? So it strips away, and this is whey isolate, strips away the lactose, most of the fats and carbs that come with it, and they extract the protein. It is digested the same exact way as that protein molecule would be if you take it through food. It's the same exact thing. It's just a massive difference in calories, right? Now, there's different types, and why we'll say whey is the best. Whey protein comes in isolates and concentrates for the most part. Without going too deep into it, I would avoid whey concentrate and stick to whey isolates. Those, again, isolated whey. So most whey isolates are lactose free, which is usually really helpful with digestion for most people. The cleanest kind of people consider it there. There is casein protein. People usually say casein, but it's casein protein, which is another dairy or milk protein. It's slower digested. It has no other benefits above whey protein except for it might help keep you fuller longer. There's egg protein, which out of any food protein has the highest BV or biological value, meaning the most absorbed. And no, it does not have cholesterol in it either. People, I don't think, know you can get egg proteins. There is soy. That's the most common form of plant. Research shows, and this is important because that used to be a hot topic, maybe not anymore,
Ugh,
that soy raises estrogen. It gives you boobs if you're a dude, right?
yeah.
Research shows no effect on hormones at normal dosages. It's a little unclear at higher dosages, but soy protein, it's not going to, unless you're mega dosing it, influence your sex hormones at all. That's important to know. And
Yeah.
then there's
I
plant.
think also like soy, I'm going to interrupt for a second.
Yeah.
Soy, I wish it didn't have that myth behind it and fear with a lot of men because especially if you are vegan, vegetarian, if whey is something that you can't digest or for whatever reason it doesn't work
Mm-hmm.
well with you, soy, in terms of it, the plant protein, it is the best plant protein you can get from amino acid profile perspective. Definitely would still recommend if you can't that's the only time I would recommend to supplement with leucine
Mm-hmm.
because that is it won't compare in leucine values, but other than that it's the most comparable to animal protein. So out of all of the plant proteins from an amino acid profile and digestibility, soy is definitely the best. So it sucks that people are so anti soy.
Yeah. That's what sucks about when that became a trend. And that's why another popular one is plant-based proteins. And this is usually a mixture of any protein source from plant, if it's hemp, if it's pea, if it's rice, if it's soy. When I look at plant-based proteins too, another two solid ones, I would honestly rank up there with soy, rice and pea protein, because I know
Yeah.
especially rice, I'm unclear about pea, but they have exceptional amino acid profiles. Rice actually has a pretty decent amount of leucine in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look for plant-based, those are usually the ones to look at. And
It
it's just,
just, I've never had a pea protein that wasn't chalky.
in my
They
opinion,
don't.
tastes like poop. Tastes like
Yeah.
just have whey or egg or casein.
Even soy is not soy. I think that's where I also maybe more
Oh,
like soy
it
better
tasted
is because
better.
the taste thing. It's not chalky.
Mm,
It's not like, oh, a lot of
yeah,
those plant proteins are just, you gotta.
yeah. So those are the main categories of what kinds of protein you have. We obviously both use the whey isolate from Legion. We've been big fans of that for a long time. It's easy to recommend just because it's sourced from grass-fed cows. It has no lactose, no artificial sweeteners, extremely easy on digestion. And every whey protein or any protein source, and this is what you got to be especially tricky for if you look for on plant proteins, is you want to look at the protein to calorie ratio, because there are
Yeah.
some plant proteins that'll have like be labeled as like 11 grams of protein, 20, 30 carbs, 15 grams of fat. It's like it's more carbs and fat than it is protein.
Yeah.
And that's why like a whey protein source, especially too, you want to make sure. And that's why I think another one that's common that I do not recommend is, what's it called? It's BSN's, I forget the name of it, but by the brand BSN, their whey protein powder, very low protein, very high calorie. And why you want to look for this macronutrient distribution, and why whey protein is even more important when you're trying to lose fat than when you're trying to build muscle, is that when you're trying to lose fat, two things happen. A lot of things happen, but two main things happen. One, you get hungry, right? If you're in a calorie deficit, you get hungry. Protein is the most satiating macro that's going to help you avoid hunger, which is going to allow you to stick to your diet longer. So having protein in your diet, a high protein diet, is important there. Two, you want to avoid losing muscle and focus on building fat, or not building. You want to focus on not losing muscle and focus on losing fat, right? This keeps your metabolism strong, your physique leaner and more toned. Having a high protein diet is absolutely necessary during a fat loss phase, right? And that's why it's more advantageous, is because of that hunger second effect that it comes with. Now, the advantage of whey protein and these low calorie, high protein supplements during fat loss is that it has a ton of protein with very little calories, meaning it'll help you stay in a calorie deficit while getting a large number of protein in your diet, or while getting a massive amount of protein in your diet to help hold on to muscle, to help keep you full. That's why it's so important in a fat loss phase, and why it's more important, in my opinion. And if people don't even know, because I know I have a protein calculator we've talked about a few times, the link in my bio. And people are confused because obviously I ask, what's your goal? Are you building muscle or losing fat? And people are confused that when they switch their goal from building muscle to losing fat, that the protein intake requirement jumps just a bit, right? It jumps
Yeah.
just a bit. They're like, wait a second, why is it higher if I'm trying to lose fat? That's why, is because it's going to help you stick to your diet. It's going to help adherence so much more. And the best brands, I think common ones, Optimum Nutrition. Don't just look at their gold standard, but their gold standard isolate, because I think their standard gold standard that you see at like Costco is a concentrate, and we don't usually want that. Legion, whey, and honestly, the best plant-based that I've seen is from Legion, just because it has, I think, 22, 23 grams of protein, very low calorie as well. And then dynamatized, or yeah, dynamatized ISO 100. I always screw that one up. Another solid brand, but we're going to go into next the supplement companies that we trust and the ones that we would avoid. I think the top 5 supplement companies, we went down and did a little research on each one. The top 5 supplement companies that we would trust, that get third party tested and are over and over and over again touted with the best quality, right? The top 5 supplements there, right, that use ingredients that are backed by peer reviewed scientific literature, properly sourced. The ones that we really love, and we've talked about multiple times on this channel, Thorne does a great job. They're great for individual ingredients, right? So specific vitamins, minerals, I think Thorne is especially good for. That's one that a lot of professionals really prefer. Legion, which I think we both agree, and again, this sounds like it's not biased, the sports supplement industry. So like I would like Legion and Thorne almost aren't in the same realm as me, because things
Yeah.
like Thorne and Pure Garden Life, those are more of those individual ingredients, where Legion is more of a sports supplement company, like
Mm-hmm.
Gold's, or like an Optimum Nutrition, or a Ghost. Not a lot of, like almost no sports supplement companies take the third party testing, the quality, the research behind it. None of them take it very seriously. And that's where I think Legion separates it. So that's why we trust and partner with them. And again, it's not biased. That's why we partnered with them in the first place, and why we reached out to them, right? And why we've turned down others. We also recommend, and this is more for individual ingredients, a little bit more fairly priced than Thorne, is the brand Pure Brand. I think it's usually in blue bottles. Garden of Life is, I know, one you're very fond of, right?
Yeah, I like Garden of Life. They're like I would say they do have definitely a bigger sports supplement line. They're a little bit more affordable. And I would say they're the best for vegan and vegetarian options for
Mm,
sure. They have so many different options there. And it's also one of the ones that you would find more readily available at, I know you said not to buy them from a grocery store, but you
mm,
definitely would find them from like a health food store, a Whole Foods. They're definitely on the market like in person a lot more and still a better quality than your standard generic brand. So
yeah.
it's definitely
So
want to
look, yeah,
support them.
look for these, because same thing with Pure, and then our fifth one is right,
Now,
all caps now, the big orange bottles. Those are all solid ones that you actually would commonly see in a grocery store, but there's like probably 30 different supplement brands in the vitamin aisle at your local grocery store. So look out for those three,
yeah.
especially. You're not going to find
And
Thorn and Legion there, though.
no. And now is one of those ones where it's like you can definitely go on the end of being like, this sounds a little bit fishy. I would definitely look at now if you're trying to get like a vitamin D3, if you're trying to get a calcium, if you know you need to get an iron, like those generic vitamins. If you do not have access to a Thorn or a Legion or a Pure,
Yeah.
which are more of the gold standard, we wanted to add in that's definitely the most affordable out of all of them and the most
Yeah.
accessible. So we wanted to add that option in for people. I know we're going to do another episode focused on probiotics, but there's so many different probiotics. I know Legion just came out with their own probiotic.
Mm,
Thorn has a bunch of different varieties. So those are great places to go. Same with Pure. And also another company we didn't mention that is just probiotic focus. This is one I take. It's called Seed. It's also a great option. So there are like some companies out there that are definitely more niche that only sell probiotics.
yeah.
Those can oftentimes have good options there too. So
Yeah. Those specialized companies, especially. Now, here's the ones that we wanted to make a list of ones to avoid at all costs. And I think this is equally as important with how many there are and how many kind of go out there. Now, these are the list of supplement companies that we would avoid, either because they they overuse proprietary blends, sell proven ineffective products or ingredients, make outrageously false claims, and have a history of legal trouble. These
yeah.
companies would almost be just better considered as marketing companies because that's all they're doing. They're not providing any real value. They're just marketing what they do very, very well. And we have a larger list here, but I'm just going to go down the list. Number one, and this one's been around for a long time, Shreds with a Z, right? Their main three products on their page being two different kinds of fat burners and BCAAs. Again, what I said in the BCAA companies, if this company is knowingly marketing and telling you buy our BCAAs, what else are they going to lie to you about? And they've just been proven over and over again with very, very cheap ingredients, spend a lot of money on marketing. Hum, HUM. This one's more popular on social media. Bulletproof. Bulletproof. Yeah, bulletproof.
Get me started.
Don't get us started. Cellucor products. This one's more common. You see them at GNCs. You see them at Walmart's. Cellucor, famous C4 pre-workout, very low quality. GNC branded supplements. And this is kind of shocking because that's like the one known, that's really the one global supplement store, right? That's the one global supplement store notoriously underdosed and overpriced supplements. Underdosed and overpriced supplements.
Yeah, and legally that GNC brand, that was the brand that had they got that lawsuit filed against them for that one product that had
Oh, that's right.
and was it amphetamines in there?
They sold a product. They
Stimulants or something?
continued to sell one with amphetamines in a pre-workout that
Yeah.
caused multiple deaths that was outlawed, but they continued to sell it. And another one that I think they put seed oil in place of a vitamin
Yeah.
is what you
Yeah.
were showing too. So
Yeah.
so GNC, they just avoid it. You could save so much money and get so much higher quality products somewhere else. Another one, more common one, Bucked Up is a supplement company I would avoid. Are they doing anything dangerous? No, but they use and continue to promote the use of deer velvet antler, which has been proven over and over again to have zero effect, right? Extremely ineffective product, but that's what they tout as their main driver. Also, again, clinically underdosed and overpriced. EVL and BSN, another two popular brands that you would see at a supplement store. Only reason these are on the list are one, usually very expensive, and two, Those are the two companies I've seen with the most proprietary blends on their labels, whatever product it might be. Again, those proprietary blends, those things that don't necessarily say, hey, this is a bad supplement, but there's no real reason to use a proprietary blend unless you're trying to hide that you're underdosing products. Mm-hmm. So that's why those made the list of the ones to avoid. I made it to the bottom of the list.
It was a long one.
That was a long, holy cow. We're going to cut out a lot, but that was a long one. So we're not going to keep any longer. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Again, if you want to check out some of Legion's supplements, it's in the show notes below, or you could use FSPOD at checkout for 20% off your first order or double points every order. After that, we are trying to talk to a couple others to get any exclusive deals for our listeners as well, but that's in the future. Couple things. One, DM us. Let us know if you have any questions about today's episode or that we could follow up with or explain a little bit deeper. If you're in our premium or research review, exciting one about strength training coming up this week. And another exciting, again, keep your eye out for your email. If you're not a part of our research review, that's also in the show notes below if you want to join. You all know where to follow us. TikTok, Instagram, fs.pod, fs.pod, fitness stuff for normal people on YouTube. I hope this helped. All right, go have a killer day. Buy safe, shop safe. Oh yeah, it's Monday. Happy Monday. Go have a killer Monday. And we love you.